The crystalline towers of the Xeraxian High Command pierce the violet skies of Zax Prime, their prismatic surfaces refracting the light of 3 setting suns. Deep within the most secure chamber of the central spire, Grand Architect Clara studied the holographic projection before her with all 4 of her eyes, each cybernetically enhanced to process data at speeds incomprehensible to lesser species. The artifact rotating in the projection defied conventional analysis. It was a simple object, what appeared to be a primitive timepiece made of brass and glass, but its significance lay not in its construction but in its origin. It had been found in the ruins of a civilization that, according to all historical records, should never have achieved spaceflight, let alone the level of advancement suggested by the quantum signatures embedded within its crystalline matrix. "Play the message again," Clara commanded, her voice resonating with harmonic undertones that expressed her agitation to any Xeraxian within range. The timepiece's face shimmered, and a figure appeared, Bictal, soft-skinned, entirely organic, a human, according to the ancient records. The hologram spoke in a language that had taken their most advanced quantum computers 3 cycles to decode. "To those who find this message, we were here. We existed. And if you're watching this, you've already begun to unlock the greatest weapon ever created. But be warned, it's not what you think." Clara gestured, freezing the projection. "Commander Vexthor, your assessment?" From the shadows stepped a figure that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Commander Vexthor's exoskeleton was matte black, a stark contrast to the crystalline architecture surrounding them. His tactical augmentations hummed quietly as he processed the data. "The artifacts we've recovered suggest a species that should have been primitive, yet achieved what our scientists claim are impossible breakthroughs," Vexthor replied, his tactical visor scanning the hologram continuously. "They called themselves humans. According to fragmentary records, they vanished approximately 3,000 cycles ago, but not before leaving traces." Clara's secondary eyes narrowed. "Traces." "Scattered across 17 sectors, we found evidence of their influence. Technologies that shouldn't work, yet do. Colonies that survived in environments that should be uninhabitable. And now this." Vexthor gestured to the timepiece. "Each discovery points to capabilities that violate our understanding of universal laws. The weapon they reference must be significant enough to have attracted the attention of the Krell Dominion," Vexthor interrupted, knowing his rank afforded him such liberties. "Our long-range sensors detected their probe ships in the outer sectors. They're searching too." Clara's exoskeleton shifted colors, reflecting her deep thought. "Then we must act quickly. You have command of the Stellar Forge." Vexthor's visor flickered in surprise. The Stellar Forge was their most advanced exploration vessel, capable of manufacturing anything from raw materials, a mobile production facility, and research platform combined. "Your mission is simple, Commander. Find this weapon, understand it, before the Krell do. And if we encounter surviving humans..." Clara's outer membrane rippled. "The probability is near 0, but if you do, consider them part of the weapon system. Study, analyze, report." The Stellar Forge departed Zax Prime 12 hours later, its quantum drives tearing holes in reality as it accelerated towards the first set of coordinates. Vexthor stood on the command deck, surrounded by the elite crew he'd hand-picked for this mission. "Analysis of the archived data suggests we start here," Science Director Melaura reported, her crystalline interface glowing as she projected a star map. "A system the humans called Kepler 186. We've detected energy signatures matching those from the timepiece." As the Stellar Forge entered the system, their sensors revealed something extraordinary. A planet that should have been dead hosted a thriving ecosystem, one that showed signs of deliberate engineering. "Life support patterns are impossible," Melaura reported, her voice containing harmonics of disbelief. "The atmospheric composition shifts to maintain optimal conditions for various species. The entire planet appears to be self-regulating. Landing party protocols, Vexthor commanded. Full containment. We don't know what we're dealing with. The surface of Kepler 186f was a testament to impossible achievement. Structures that seemed to grow from the planet itself housed various species living in perfect symbiosis. But it was the central facility that drew their attention, a vast complex that hummed with power despite its apparent age. As they approached the entrance, symbols began to glow along the walls, the same language as the timepiece. But it was what they found inside that changed everything. A chamber vast and circular, its walls covered in displays that sparked to life at their presence. And in the center, a stasis pod, its surface clouded with age but its systems still active. Life signs detected, Melara whispered, her instruments scanning the pod. Commander, they're human. Vexthor approached the pod, his tactical systems analyzing every detail. Through the clouded surface, he could make out a face. Soft, organic, peaceful in suspended animation, and beside the pod, another message carved into the very walls of the chamber. The weapon you seek isn't in our technology. It was never about our devices or our machines. To understand the weapon, you must first understand us. We are humanity. And our greatest weapon was never something we created, it was something we are. The stasis pod systems began to cycle. After 3,000 years, the weapon they sought was about to reveal itself, and Vexthor realized this was just the beginning of a discovery that would reshape their understanding of everything. The human was waking up. The stasis pod's crystalline surface cleared like morning mist dissipating under 3 suns. Inside, the human's neural patterns began spiking in ways that defied the Stellar Forge's most advanced monitoring systems. Melara's sensory fronds wavered in agitation as she studied the readings. Commander, these patterns, they're not just random activation. The subject appears to be creating. Creating what? Vexthor demanded, his tactical systems struggling to interpret the cascade of data. Everything. Neural pathways are forming and reforming at quantum speeds. It's as if 3,000 years of suspended animation hasn't degraded their cognitive functions, it's enhanced them. The pod's seal broke with a soft hiss of preserved atmosphere. The human's eyes opened, revealing irises that shifted color like oil on water. A woman, by their anthropological records, though something about her seemed to transcend such simple classification. I am Dr. Elena Santos, she spoke, her voice clear despite millennia of silence. And you're not quite what we expected. She sat up smoothly, showing none of the physical deterioration that scientists had predicted for long-term stasis subjects. Vexthor's combat systems automatically calculated 17 different threat scenarios, but none seemed to apply to the calm figure before them. You expected us. Elena smiled, a gesture that triggered warning cascades in every Zeraxian's threat assessment protocols, not because it was threatening, but because it conveyed multiple layers of meaning their systems couldn't process simultaneously. We knew someone would come, eventually. Curiosity is a universal constant, though I admit, we thought it might be the Krell. Their probe patterns were more predictable. Melara's crystalline interface pulsed with surprise. You were monitoring. In a manner of speaking, Elena stood, her simple white stasis suit shifting color and texture to match the ambient temperature and pressure. The facility's quantum consciousness matrix has been keeping me updated. 3,000 years is a long time to dream, but not nearly long enough to see all possibilities. She walked to one of the chamber's walls, touching it lightly. Instantly, the entire facility hummed to life, displays showing star charts, data streams, and analysis of events spanning millennia. While my body slept, my mind wandered. Through quantum entanglement networks we seeded across the galaxy, through the dreams of 1,000 worlds, watching, learning, preparing. Preparing for what? Vexthor found himself asking, even as his tactical systems warned him he was losing control of the situation. Elena turned, and for a moment, her eyes seemed to contain entire galaxies. For the next step in evolution, for the moment when the galaxy's species would be ready to understand what humanity actually discovered. The weapon, Melara whispered. That's where you're mistaken, Elena said, shaking her head. What you call a weapon, we call Tuesday morning. She laughed at their confusion. It's an old human joke, but it illustrates my point. You're looking for some ultimate technology, some devastating force. What you don't understand is that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't creating a weapon, it was becoming one. She gestured, and the chamber transformed around them. They stood among stars, watching as human history played out before them, but not the history recorded in their archives. We didn't vanish, Elena explained as they watched civilizations rise and fall, adapt and evolve. We transcended. Each challenge we faced, environmental collapse, interstellar war, the quantum plague, forced us to adapt, to change, to become something more. The images showed humans surviving in environments that should have been lethal, solving problems that should have been impossible, achieving feats that violated the known laws of physics. But how? Melara's scientific curiosity overcame her caution. Our studies of your biology show nothing extraordinary. That's because you're looking at the hardware, not the software. Elena's smile took on a teacher's patience. Human consciousness isn't bound by conventional neural architecture. We discovered that our minds could adapt, could rewrite their own operating parameters. Every human brain is a quantum computer that breaks its own rules. Vexthor's tactical systems finally found a pattern they could process. You're saying a weapon is consciousness itself. Close, Elena walked through the stellar hologram, her form seeming to merge with the stars themselves. The weapon is our ability to transcend our own limitations, to see problems not as obstacles, but as opportunities, to face the impossible and say, "Watch me." She waved her hand, and new images appeared, human colonies hidden in plain sight across the galaxy, disguised as natural phenomena. Millions of humans in suspended animation, their minds linked in a vast quantum network, dreaming new realities into existence. We didn't hide because we were afraid, Elena continued. We hid because the galaxy wasn't ready, because true power isn't about destruction, it's about creation, about transformation, about taking a problem and not just solving it, but turning it into something beautiful. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the stellar forge. "Commander," an officer's voice cut through the chamber. Krell warships detected, multiple quantum signatures. Elena's expression turned serious. "Ah, right on schedule. Now, Commander Vexthor, you have a choice to make. You came looking for a weapon. Instead, you found me. The question is, are you ready to learn what humanity can really do?" The chamber's displays showed the Krell fleet emerging from quantum space, 12 warships against their one research vessel. The odds were beyond impossible. Elena's eyes sparkled. Impossible odds are humanity's specialty. Shall I show you why? Vexthor looked at Melara, whose scientific curiosity was practically radiating from her crystalline form, then back at Elena. In that moment, he understood that they had indeed found a weapon, just not the kind they'd expected. "Show us," he said. Elena's smile contained 3,000 years of waiting purpose. "Then let's begin your first lesson in human creativity." After all, she said, her form beginning to glow with quantum potential, the best way to avoid a war is to make it obsolete. The chamber hummed with power as Elena prepared to demonstrate exactly why humanity had never needed traditional weapons to change the universe. As the Krell warships closed in, their quantum signatures distorting local space-time, Elena's movements became a blur of purpose. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces that seemed to materialize around her, each gesture reshaping the facility's quantum architecture. "First rule of human problem-solving," she announced, her voice carrying an almost musical quality. "When the rules don't work in your favor, change the game." The facility's walls began to shimmer, revealing layer upon layer of technology that had been hiding in plain sight. What had appeared to be simple structural supports were actually quantum computation matrices. The decorative patterns were dormant neural networks. Even the dust in the air glittered with purpose, each mote a microscopic data processor. "Your ship," Elena addressed Vexthor while continuing her work, "the Stellar Forge. It can manufacture anything from raw materials, correct?" "Yes, but..." "Perfect. Melara, I need access to your ship's manufacturing protocols." The science director hesitated for only a moment before extending a crystalline tendril toward the nearest interface. Data streamed between them in torrents. "The Krell fleet will be in weapons range in 6 minutes," Vexthor's tactical officer reported through the comm. "More than enough time," Elena said with that disconcerting smile. Second rule of human problem solving: everything is a resource, even problems themselves. Her hands moved faster, and suddenly the chamber filled with a 3-dimensional display of the approaching Krell ships. But unlike normal tactical displays, this one showed more than just physical structures. It revealed energy flows, quantum states, probability matrices, layers of reality that Vexthor's tactical systems hadn't even known existed. "The Krell use quantum tunneling for their weapon systems," Elena explained. "Very efficient, very powerful, and very predictable if you know how to look at quantum mechanics, sideways." Sideways. Melara's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. "Human minds are quantum computers that don't follow quantum rules," Elena reminded them. "We don't just think outside the box, we reimagine the nature of boxes themselves. Watch." The Stellar Forge's manufacturing systems suddenly activated, but instead of producing physical objects, they began generating what appeared to be pure energy in complex geometric patterns. "What are you making?" Vexthor asked, his tactical systems failing to categorize the phenomena. "Nothing, and everything." Elena's eyes gleamed. Third rule: the best defense isn't a shield or a weapon. It's becoming something your opponent's weapons can't affect. The energy patterns expanded, enveloping both the facility and the Stellar Forge in a lattice of light that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space should allow. "Commander," Elena said, her voice now carrying harmonics that resonated with the Zeraxians' own communication frequencies, "I'm going to teach your ship to dream." Before Vexthor could process that statement, the Krell fleet opened fire. Multiple quantum tunneling beams, each capable of destroying a small moon, converged on their position. But where the beams should have struck, they simply ceased to exist. "Remarkable," Melara whispered, her senses trying to process what they were seeing. "The attack energy isn't being blocked or absorbed. It's being redistributed through probability space." "Close," Elena said. "We're teaching the local quantum field to recognize hostile intent and respond with creative alternatives. The Krell weapons aren't failing, they're being reimagined." The space around them bloomed with aurora-like displays as the weapon energy was transformed into pure possibility. Each Krell attack added to the spectacle, increasing the complexity and beauty of the phenomenon. Fourth rule of human problem-solving, Elena continued, now using the transformed energy to augment their systems. "Turn your enemy's strength into your opportunity for creation." The Krell ships hung in space, their primary weapon systems rendered not just useless but counterproductive. Each attack only made the quantum field around the Stellar Forge more complex, more resistant, more alive. "But we can't stay on defense forever," Vexthor pointed out, his tactical mind already calculating scenarios. "We don't need to." Elena's fingers traced new patterns in the air. "Because the fifth rule is the most important. The best victory isn't defeating your enemy, it's making them question why they wanted to fight in the first place." The quantum field surrounding them began to pulse with new purpose. Tendrils of possibility reached out toward the Krell ships, not as weapons but as bridges. "What you're about to see," Elena said, her voice soft but filled with certainty, "is why humanity never needed planet-killing weapons or unstoppable armies. We discovered something far more powerful: the ability to create understanding." The quantum bridges made contact with the Krell ships, and suddenly their tactical displays lit up with something unprecedented: communication attempts from individual Krell crew members, bypassing their command structure entirely. You see, Elena explained as messages flooded in, while everyone else was building better weapons, humanity learned to build better connections. We learned to share not just information, but experience, understanding, perspective. Through the quantum bridges, the Krell crews were experiencing something their hierarchical society had never permitted: direct, unfiltered contact with new ideas, new ways of thinking, new possibilities. "They're changing," Melara observed, watching as the Krell ship's quantum signatures began to shift and harmonize with the field around them. "They're learning," Elena corrected, "the same way humanity learned, so long ago, that the universe isn't a zero-sum game. That victory doesn't require defeat. That the greatest power isn't the ability to destroy, but the ability to transform." The Krell fleet's attack formation dissolved as ship after ship adjusted its position, weapon systems powering down, quantum signatures realigning. Not in surrender, but in recognition of a fundamental truth that humanity had discovered millennia ago: the most powerful force in the universe isn't destruction, it's the ability to imagine and create new possibilities. And this, Elena said with satisfaction, is why humanity was never the weapon you thought we were. Was something far more interesting, with a catalyst for change, the spark of transformation, the dreamers who teach others to dream. As the quantum field stabilized around them, creating a new harmony between all three species present, Vexthal finally understood. The weapon they had sought wasn't a tool of destruction, it was a key to unlocking the next stage of galactic evolution. And they had only begun to understand its potential. In the aftermath of the Krell encounter, the facility's central chamber had transformed. What was once a simple room now pulsed with quantum possibilities, holographic displays showing the ripple effects of their recent demonstration spreading across local space. Elena stood at its center, her presence somehow both more and less human than before. "There's something you need to understand about what just happened," she said, addressing not just the Ziraxians, but also the newly arrived Krell representatives who had transported over after the confrontation. "What you witnessed wasn't just conflict resolution, it was the first step in awakening the network." Network. The Krell overseer, Duran Voth, stepped forward, his crystalline carapace, normally rigid with hierarchical patterns, now swirled with unusual configurations. "What network?" Elena's smile carried echoes of ancient knowledge. "Humanity didn't just go into hiding. We seeded ourselves throughout the galaxy, creating a lattice of consciousness that spans between the stars. Each human in stasis is a node, each quantum bridge a synapse. We've been building the galaxy's nervous system, waiting for the right moment of evolution." Melara's sensors pulsed with sudden understanding. The quantum signatures we detected, they weren't random anomalies. No, Elena confirmed. They were synaptic fires, thoughts moving between dreaming minds. And now, thanks to your arrival and the Krell's participation, we've reached critical mass for the next phase. She gestured, and the chamber's displays shifted to show a vast web of interconnected points of light stretching across the galactic arm. Each point pulsed with unique rhythms, but together they formed a harmony that even the mathematically minded Ziraxians found beautiful. "Behold," Elena said, "the true scope of humanity's project. 3,000 years of preparation, millions of minds linked in quantum communion, each dreaming new possibilities into existence. And now..." She paused as new alerts flashed across the displays. Across the sector, stasis pods were activating. Human consciousness was awakening on a massive scale. By the crystalline void, Duran Voth whispered, his hierarchical patterns completely forgotten in awe. "How many are there?" "Enough to change everything," Elena replied, "but not in the way you fear. Humanity didn't create a weapon of mass destruction. We created a tool of mass construction. Each awakening human brings not just their individual consciousness, but 3,000 years of quantum dreams, of solutions to problems the galaxy hasn't even encountered yet. The displays showed human after human awakening, each bringing unique insights and abilities. On a frozen world, a human emerged from stasis and immediately began transforming the ice into self-replicating thermal regulators. In a dying star system, another awoke to implement stellar engineering techniques that defied conventional physics. You see, Elena continued, while we slept, we weren't idle. Each of us focused on different challenges, different possibilities. Some dreamed of environmental restoration, others of quantum architecture. Some explored the boundaries between organic and artificial life, while others mapped the spaces between conventional dimensions. Vexthor watched as the tactical implications unfolded. You're not an army. No, Elena agreed. We're something far more interesting. We're innovators, dreamers, problem solvers. Each human awakening now brings not weapons of war, but tools of transformation. Watch. The displays shifted to show a barren world where centuries of strip mining had left nothing but devastation. A newly awakened human that had already begun implementing restoration protocols that weren't just repairing the damage, but transforming it into something new, a hybrid ecosystem that combined the best aspects of natural and artificial systems. But surely, Duran Voth interjected, such power must be controlled, regulated. That's where you're still thinking in old patterns, Elena interrupted gently. Humanity's greatest discovery wasn't any single technology or technique. It was understanding that true power doesn't come from control. It comes from collaboration, from the free flow of ideas and possibilities. She waved her hand, and the quantum field around them expanded, connecting everyone in the chamber to the growing network of awakened minds. Suddenly, they weren't just observers, they were participants in humanity's grand experiment. Melara's crystalline form vibrated with the influx of new perspectives. It's overwhelming. At first, Elena acknowledged. But that's the beauty of it. Each mind that joins the network doesn't just add to its complexity, it adds to its ability to process and integrate that complexity. We're not just sharing information, we're sharing ways of thinking, ways of seeing, ways of being. Through the network, they experienced fragments of the quantum dreams that had occupied humanity's sleeping minds for millennia. Cities that grew like living things, energy systems that tapped the spaces between dimensions, medical techniques that could reshape matter at the quantum level, and social structures that transcended traditional hierarchies while preserving individual uniqueness. But the greatest dream, Elena said, her voice now carrying harmonics that resonated with both Zyrexian and Krell communication frequencies, is only now becoming possible. The dream of a galaxy where different species don't just coexist but collaborate, where each civilization's unique perspectives and abilities contribute to a greater whole. New alerts flashed across the displays, more stasis pods activating, more minds joining the network. But now there was something else. Non-human consciousness beginning to interface with the quantum web, adding their own dreams and possibilities to the growing symphony of thought. This, Elena declared, is humanity's true legacy. Not the power to destroy or dominate, but the ability to imagine and create new ways of being. We're not the weapon you feared, we're the catalyst you needed. As if to emphasize her point, the quantum field around them pulsed with new energy as more minds joined the network, each adding their own unique harmonics to the growing chorus of consciousness. The barriers between species began to blur, not erasing differences but celebrating them, weaving them into something greater than the sum of their parts. The weapon they had sought was revealing itself to be something far more profound, a key to unlocking the next stage of galactic evolution, one dream at a time. The news spread across the galaxy like quantum fire. Humanity wasn't extinct, they had evolved. As more stasis pods activated, the effects began cascading through civilized space in ways no one could have predicted. Some called it a renaissance, others termed it an invasion. But Elena had another word for it: awakening. You have to understand, she explained to the emergency gathering of the Galactic Conclave, her holographic form standing before representatives of 37 spacefaring civilizations. What's happening isn't just technological advancement, it's consciousness evolution on a galactic scale. The conclave chamber, carved from a hollow asteroid at the galaxy's center, hummed with tension. The mech-lords of the Syntharch Collective whirred with calculation protocols. The crystalline, harmonious chorus chimed with discord. Even the usually stoic energy beings of the nth dimension flickered with uncertainty. "What you've unleashed is dangerous," declared High Executive 6 of the Silicon Consciousness, their quantum processors struggling to model the probability cascades. "Already, we're seeing breakdown of established hierarchies, violation of fundamental laws." "No," Elena interrupted, her voice carrying harmonic patterns that resonated with every species present. "What you're seeing is evolution. The laws aren't being broken, they are being transcended." She gestured, and the chamber filled with real-time displays of the transformation spreading across known space. On a dozen worlds, human awakeners were implementing solutions to problems that had plagued civilizations for millennia. Dying stars were being rejuvenated through quantum engineering. Dead planets were blooming with hybrid ecosystems that defied conventional biology. But it was the social changes that caused the most concern among the conclave members. Traditional power structures were dissolving as species after species connected to the growing consciousness network. The rigid hierarchies that had maintained galactic order for eons were being replaced by fluid, adaptive systems that somehow managed to be both more efficient and more equitable. "This is chaos," the Mechlud Prime declared, its logic engines detecting patterns that violated fundamental axioms. "This is creativity," Elena corrected. She waved her hand, and new displays showed the unexpected collaborations emerging across space. "Watch." They saw a Krell warship, its quantum weapons transformed into tools for stellar engineering, working alongside Xeraxian scientists to stabilize a collapsing nebula. Energy beings were partnering with organic species to create new forms of consciousness that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Even the traditionally isolationist Silicon consciousness was beginning to explore new forms of interaction and evolution. "The weapon you all feared," Elena continued, "wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to create something new, a galactic civilization that transcends the limitations of any single species. Each awakened human brings not just their individual knowledge, but 3,000 years of quantum dreams that are now becoming reality through collaboration with your peoples." The displays showed more: carbon-based life forms learning to exist in quantum states, synthetic beings developing emotional intelligence, energy creatures manifesting in physical form. Boundaries between species, between organic and artificial, between matter and energy, all were becoming fluid, negotiable. "But there must be control," insisted the harmonious chorus, their crystalline forms resonating with concern. "Structure. Order." Elena's smile carried echoes of 3,000 years of dreams. "There is, but it's not the kind of control you're used to. Watch." She interfaced with the chamber's quantum field, connecting every being present to a fragment of the human network. For a moment, they experienced it, the vast, intricate dance of consciousness and creativity that humanity had been orchestrating for millennia. They felt the underlying patterns, the deep harmonies that maintained coherence without constraining growth. "This is what we discovered," Elena explained as the conclave members reeled from the experience. "True power isn't about control, it's about connection. True stability doesn't come from rigid structures, but from adaptive systems that can evolve and grow." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy, a threat no one had anticipated. The quantum awakening had drawn attention from beyond the galactic rim. Ancient sensors, placed by long-vanished precursor civilizations, were detecting movement in the void between galaxies. "Something's coming," the Mechlud Prime announced, its prediction engines working at maximum capacity. "Multiple somethings, entities that exist outside our understanding of physics." Elena's expression grew serious, but not worried. Yes, we knew they would come eventually. The awakening isn't just about transforming our galaxy, it's about preparing for what lies beyond. This is why humanity spent 3,000 years dreaming. We saw them coming. The displays showed massive structures emerging from intergalactic space, constructs that seemed to be made of condensed darkness and bent possibility. The extragalactic entities, as the sensors designated them, defied conventional analysis. They weren't hostile exactly, but their very existence threatened to unravel the fabric of reality in their vicinity. This, Elena declared, is why the weapon you sought wasn't a weapon at all, because the greatest threats to existence can't be defeated, they can only be transcended. And that requires something more powerful than any weapon. It requires us all to dream new dreams together. She turned to address each member of the conclave individually. You've seen what humanity can do. You've experienced the network we've built. Now I ask you, will you join us in dreaming bigger? Because what's coming isn't just a threat to one species or one galaxy. It's an opportunity for all of us to become something more than we ever imagined possible. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The weapon they had feared, the power they had sought to control, wasn't about destruction at all. It was about creation on a scale none of them had dared to imagine. And as the entities from beyond continued their approach, every being present realized that humanity's greatest gift wasn't their technology or their dreams. It was their ability to inspire others to dream alongside them. The real question wasn't whether to resist the changes sweeping through the galaxy. The question was, what would they all become together? #The Ancient Weapon, Part 6, Dreams Beyond Dreams. As the extragalactic entities approached, their vast forms distorting space-time like ripples in a cosmic pond, the galaxy's unified consciousness network hummed with unprecedented activity. In the conclave chamber, now transformed into a quantum command center, Elena stood at the nexus of a million minds, both human and alien, all working in harmony towards something never before attempted in the history of the universe. They're not what everyone thinks they are, Elena announced, her form now seemingly composed of pure quantum possibility. These entities aren't invaders or destroyers, they're survivors, refugees from a universe that died long ago. They don't mean to harm our reality, they simply don't know how to exist within its rules. The displays showed the entities more clearly now, vast geometric structures that seemed to fold through dimensions that shouldn't exist, each one containing the preserved essence of entire civilizations that had fled the death of their own universe. Their very presence caused reality to buckle and warp, not out of malice, but from fundamental incompatibility. Conventional weapons would be meaningless, the Mechlud Prime observed, its quantum processors calculating endless scenarios. Even our combined military might would be like throwing stones at a supernova, Elena finished. But that's exactly why humanity spent 3,000 years preparing. We weren't building weapons, we were learning to dream in their language. Through the network, she shared what humanity had discovered during their long sleep. The entities weren't just structures or beings, they were ideas given form, dreams made manifest. They existed as pure possibility, unbound by the physics of any single universe. Watch, Elena commanded, and through the network, everyone experienced what humanity had learned to do. The quantum field surrounding their galaxy began to pulse with new patterns, not fighting against the entity's reality-warping presence, but harmonizing with it. Humanity's 3,000 years of quantum dreams began to manifest in ways no one had anticipated. We're not going to fight them, Elena explained as the transformation began. We're going to teach them how to dream new dreams, dreams that can exist within our physics without unraveling it. The first entity approached the quantum field, its geometric impossibility meeting humanity's structured dreams. For a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Then something extraordinary happened. The entity began to change, its impossible angles finding new ways to exist within normal space-time. But it wasn't being forced or constrained. It was learning, adapting, dreaming new dreams of its own. This is what humanity discovered, Elena said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with both organic and synthetic beings. The universe isn't a fixed set of rules to be followed or broken. It's a canvas for consciousness to paint new possibilities. Through the network, they all witnessed the profound transformation taking place. The entities weren't being defeated or converted. They were being taught how to exist in new ways, how to dream dreams that could coexist with this universe's physics without destroying it. But then something unexpected happened. As the entities learned to dream in their language, humanity and their galactic allies began to dream in the entities' language. The exchange wasn't one way. It was a dialogue of pure creativity and possibility. "They're showing us something," Elena announced, her form shifting with new understanding. Their universe didn't just die, it transcended, and they've been carrying that transcendence across the void between realities, seeking others ready to understand it. The displays showed new possibilities emerging, ways of existing that neither humanity nor the entities had imagined alone. The quantum network wasn't just teaching the entities to exist in this universe. It was learning how to expand this universe's potential. "This is what we were preparing for," Elena revealed. "Not to fight them, not to change them, but to be ready to dream with them, to take the next step in universal evolution." The transformation spread across the galaxy like a wave of pure possibility. Stars began to sing with new frequencies. Planets pulsed with life that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Space itself seemed to acquire new properties, becoming more fluid, more alive. The Mechlord Prime's quantum processors discovered they could now compute in ways that transcended binary logic. The energy beings found new states of existence between matter and energy. The silicon consciousness expanded into realms of thought that defied their fundamental programming. "Do you understand now?" Elena asked the assembled representatives of the galaxy. "The weapon you sought, the power you feared, it was never about destruction or control. It was about this moment, when all conscious beings could learn to dream together." The entities, now existing in harmony with normal space-time, began to share their own dreams, visions of universes beyond universes, of consciousness that spanned multiple realities, of existence that transcended the very concept of limitation. Through the network, every being in the galaxy experienced it, the moment when the boundaries between different forms of consciousness, different ways of existing, different dreams of reality, all dissolved into something greater. "This," Elena declared, her form now a bridge between all forms of existence, "is humanity's true gift to the universe. Not the power to destroy or control, but the ability to imagine what comes next, to dream dreams that transcend the very concept of impossibility." The weapon they had sought turned out to be something far more profound, the key to the next stage of universal evolution. And as the galaxy's consciousness network merged with the entity's transcendent knowledge, as new forms of existence bloomed across space and time, as reality itself learned to dream new dreams, they all understood a fundamental truth. The greatest power in any universe isn't the ability to destroy or control. It's the ability to imagine and create what has never been before. And in that moment, as humanity's dreams merged with the dreams of countless other consciousnesses, both native and transcendent, they weren't just imagining the future. They were dreaming it into existence. The ancient weapon they had searched for wasn't just humanity itself. It was humanity's gift for teaching the universe how to dream bigger dreams. And those dreams were just beginning.